What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
Does your book, film, resource, product, or business change people's lives for the better? Hi, I'm Jackie Lappin, founder of Conscious Media Relations, a unique boutique PR firm that helps you connect with your mind, body, spirit, and conscious lifestyle audience in a big way. We reach 3,500 specialty media and all the key mainstream outlets in the United States. I invite you to explore our radio media tour that connects to 2,600 personal growth radio shows. There is just nothing else like it. Come check out our website and read our rave reviews.
The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Elizabeth Joyce. Now, Elizabeth was born as one of two sets of identical twins. Elizabeth Joyce has been psychic since birth and named as one of the world's greatest psychics in 2004. Now, she's a spiritual healer and gives personal psychic readings worldwide. She teaches the work of Louise Hayes, who was a mentor, as well as Dr. Hans Holzer. Now, Elizabeth Joyce writes a monthly astrology column in several publications, including Wisdom magazine. Elizabeth is a professional astrologer, spiritual healer, counselor, medium, and clairvoyant, who interprets dreams and utilizes the tarot as well as astrology in her readings. Her TV appearances include Unsolved Mysteries, Beyond Chance, and The Psychic Detectives. Elizabeth Joyce, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's wonderful to be here, and it's my pleasure.
It's fantastic to have you on, and this is your first Skype interview.
It is. I'm really excited about it. I didn't know if we could really do it, Kevin, but we're doing a great job.
It's incredible, isn't it? What technology there is out there nowadays, and you think
I want to do more and more.
Oh yeah, and you think that, like the shift in technology, quality-wise as well, but the shift in people's consciousness as well. It's all
That's-
shifting.
It's true. It's really opening up beautifully for most people.
Now, you've done many, many books, and I'd love to go into each of them. I know that's not what this interview is about, but I'm very, very interested in this interview. It's going to go in a direction that I didn't think was possible right now, which is to talk about many of my favorite subjects. Let's just start to begin with this. Just very briefly, just tell the audience a bit about yourself.
Okay. I was born one of two sets of identical twins. And as people know, it is generally believed that twins have a special energetic force between the two of them. And they do, but it doesn't always have to be in harmony. My older sisters, they were 2 minutes apart, and they had their own language, and they did everything together. They wore their clothes identical. They had their own language when they were 3, and they were very, very close. My twin and I were not only Pisces, double Pisces, born on a new moon eclipse, but we were opposites. So I did not endear her. I actually feared her because she would do some things that were just so unpredictable, and we did not have the basic philosophy or belief system that twins usually have. And that was my own experience. I was supposed to have that experience, basically to break free of that energy from a past life, and also to build my own philosophy and grow into greater truth. And so therefore she was a blessing. And I started this work from the time I was born. My grandmother was a wonderful shaman from Maine. She was dearly loved, and she did fabulous work with nature, and she knew how to discipline children. I want to just say this real quick. She would never spank. She would tell you to take a little mat, go sit under a tree, and talk to the tree. Lean against the tree and talk to the tree as to why you had done something wrong or something to upset her. You had to come back in the house and tell her what you did wrong and why you did it at 5 years old. And then you would have to do a chore, whether it was sweep the floor, wipe the dishes, or whatever. And I just think that's fabulous. I still hold dear to that. But if you did something that put somebody else in danger, she would do something else. For example, my cousin Chuck, they put firecrackers on the railroad tracks over the 4th of July.
Oh, dear.
He was brought home by his ear by one of the policemen, and she handed him a knife, and she said, go outside and pick your switch. So he would go outside and into the field and bring back a switch, and she would switch him on his rear about 3 or 4 times, just so he would know this is what it feels like to hurt others. And that has always been amazing. The other thing that she did is that every lunchtime she would put on a great big sombrero hat, and she would go outside with aprons, with a bib apron and pockets, and fill it with nuts and grains and food, and all of the animals would come, the chipmunks, the squirrels, the raccoons, the birds, and they would eat from that. And she would sit there in total silence for about an hour. And my cousin and I would watch out the window. It was one of the greatest learning things that I could have had.
So then, okay, you're a lady with a, some amazing background in the sense of spirituality and the journey that you've been on. What was your defining moment then, would you say, to get you down the path that you've gone?
It was funny because I was married to my second husband, who eventually died, and he told me that I was psychic. I had never heard the word psychic in 1979. I was a Methodist and a New England Baptist. We didn't hear the word. I didn't know what he meant. He said, well, you know things, and that's why your friends love to call you on the phone, because you always tell them what's going to happen. And then after he passed, about a year after he passed, I was hit head on by a drunk driver driving my son to a party. And I had the out-of-body experience. And he came to me with my stepson who had been murdered. And they both, I had a red dot on the left and a blue dot on the right, and they were going, you have to go back, you have to write, you have to go back, you have to write. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. That was in 1979, and I didn't know what that meant. And shortly after that, I started having a dream, like receiving energy that we discussed. And it was the same dream every single night for 3 weeks. I dreamt of a house exploding. I dreamt of a front door where there was a hinge that banged the door. There was ivy going up the side of the house. On one side was a trailer park, and on the other side were oil wells. And I heard your aunt died. She's in Houston, Texas. And I didn't know what that meant. I got so scared that I called a person that I had met when I was going through some home problems with my children, and she was a psychologist. And I called her up because I didn't know anybody else. And I said, please help me. I think I'm going crazy. And she said, well, come to the office. So I went to the office. And this is absolutely true. I sat down in front of her and I said, I'm having this dream. This is the dream. And she looked at me and she turned white. And she said, Elizabeth, you don't know much about me, but I was born and brought up in Houston, Texas. And my aunt is missing. And she was missing the day of the Houston oil well explosions. And we have not been able to find her body. I said, oh, I know where it is. Let me draw it for you. And I drew where the body was in some tumbleweed behind the house. Actually, it was in tall grass. And she made a phone call and the body was found within 3 hours. And this was on Unsolved Mysteries. This was also in Woman's Day magazine. And the reason that it was because Louise Hay and Deepak Chopra were coming forward at this time in 1981. And so psychic sensitivity was just coming into being. And the name of the article was Psychic Powers, Fact, Fraud, or Fiction. But they verified with the state troopers, with the people in Texas in the town, with the sheriff, they verified what had happened. And therefore they could prove it. So it was amazing.
Incredible. So then from that point onwards, when that proof was just so obvious to you, Brenda
and I got very scared. We did not really understand what had happened, and we said we have to find a teacher. And we did. We found Meg Stetner, who had been teaching tarot cards and giving psychic readings for years, but we didn't know. So we started studying with her, and that's where it all began. And it was a wonderful experience. I just wrote 3 books, my trilogy. Developing Your Psychic Sensitivity, Book 1, Book 2, and Book 3. And it introduces you to meditation and the chakras, and it takes you from there. And each book is a higher level. You can start your teenagers and younger children off with Book 1 because it has fabulous information in it. And then you go to Book 2, and then if you want, you learn about dreams and you learn a little bit about astrology in Book 2. When you go to Book 3, then you learn about the out-of-body, you learn about the Akashic Records, and you learn about soulmates. So that is I put it all down in writing, very helpful.
And again, that near-death experience was the catalyst for all of this. And yes. I bet that experience is still very vivid in your mind.
Very vivid, very vivid.
Yeah, I bet it is.
It was an incredible time.
Oh, I bet.
But you know what that did, Kevin? We had a little chat before we began the program. It opened up what is called your inner channel or your inner ability to receive. And when you receive messages from the universe, I don't call it channeling, as you know, because I think the word has been so defiled. I call it receiving universal energy. And when you receive universal energy, it really doesn't matter where it comes from or who you think it comes from. It matters that it's a message to go out to the public. And if you present it that way, it probably would be deeply respected. We don't have to get into our egos, and we don't have to say it came from Mary Magdalene or it came from Mother Mary, because first of all, it never could have. And second of all, it's wonderful just to know that you can receive from the universe. As a matter of fact, there isn't anything that you can't receive from the universe. Not anything. All you have to do is sit down, open yourself up, and ask.
And trust as well in that process. That
you're asking, you're trusting, I imagine.
No, just for absolutely, but for those who may be new to this as well.
May I give you 2 examples?
Please.
Okay, I worked in aviation. That was my career, aviation. And I worked with corporate jets. And one day I had gone out to lunch and I was coming back and a pilot was driving the car and he said, Elizabeth, please tell me what's wrong with this car. What do I know about cars? Nothing. And I said, well, what are you asking me? He said, please open up your psychic senses. I know you're very good at what you do. Please tell me what's wrong with this car. I said, I've never done that before. And he said, come on. His name was Bill. So I put my hand on the dashboard of the car. And I closed my eyes and I asked the car what was wrong with it. And I got a picture. And the picture that I got were things going up and down, 6 of them. I said, like, there's these six, they look like rods going up down with a ball on top of, and the one on the left in the middle is broken. That's what's wrong with your car. And he goes, oh no, I need a valve job. He took it to the mechanic who he had gone to 6 times before, and they couldn't find anything, and they went right in, and that's what was wrong. That's just one story, but that's what you can learn from the universe. That's why you don't ever have to panic or be in fear. All you have to do is ask. If you can breathe out the fear, we all go into this deep fear in our solar plexus. And the reason that we do that is because of past experiences. So what are we doing? We're reacting to the past. What we believe is going to happen because we experienced it before. What does that do, Kevin? That brings in a belief system from the past, and it stops your growth and it stops your good. It's very, very hard to train yourself not to do that.
So okay, now, okay, you're a medium, yep. Where for you does the receiving, as you call channeling, receiving, where does the receiving come in for you, and what is the difference between being a medium and being a receiver?
Oh, that's easy. When you choose to do medium work, and I do all work, I do astrology, I do psychic work, I find people, I find lost articles, as you know, I work with animals, I do it all. And I do healing work, which is the most important. But when somebody sits down and tells me that they have lost their grandmother and that they wish they could have a message from her, the first thing I'm going to say to them is, I can't call in your grandmother because that's out of order. If your grandmother chooses to join us today, that's wonderful. But we don't know where she is or what she's doing. We must not disturb that energy. So then all of a sudden, energy will come flowing from her. It'll come in this way, from her body to my body. And I'm able to take it through the top of my crown, bring it through my chakras, and circle it back around. So there's a circle going on. Okay? And I open to what is around her. What does this soul need to see and hear from me today? And sometimes I get pushed in the back and I hear yelling and screaming from her higher self because she hasn't been listening. And I start talking, and sometimes it can be pretty shocking. And what I do is I just take a deep breath and say, look, this isn't coming from me. It can't possibly be coming from me. It's coming from you. So your higher self is now talking to you. That's one thing that happens. But the other thing is you could feel a softness. If you feel an energy on your left shoulder, it's a woman. If you feel the energy on your right shoulder, it's a man when you're doing medium work. And you just ask for the message. And you do. And when you know you have the grandmother, that she has graced us by being present, you say to your client, your grandmother is here. She's standing on my left. Is there something you need to say to her? And, well, how do I know? Can't you prove it? I do not like people like that almost everybody does it. So she'll say something about it. I'm bringing you a yellow flower. I'm bringing you a daffodil that's your favorite. Or do you remember the blue dress that you wore the last time you came to see me in the hospital and we said we loved each other? You know, you'll get a message similar to that. And then she can talk to the grandmother. And what happens is a healing, Kevin. She gets released from all that she's holding in guilt, all that she's holding in sorrow. As she talks to the spirit, she's releasing all of the things she had stored in her solar plexus. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And people can feel very close to the person that has deceased. They feel their own love, and they may be able to feel what they had blocked while the person was alive. And forgiveness happens. And Paul says that you want to forgive everyone before you pass so you don't carry the energy into the next life and have to repeat it over again.
Okay, this is pretty incredible stuff. I mean, I've heard it in different ways from other people, but you have a very unique way with it, and you've been doing it for so long as well. And the books that you've written are of good quality as well. And you've, like you say, you've worn the T-shirt. You've seen the whole arena develop. Yeah. When you're getting messages, be it through receiving or using on your mediumistic side, how much trust is in that process, would you say, to just go with that message?
100%. Why? Because it's clear. Now, when it's not clear, I know inside. And I will say to them, this isn't coming from your grandmother. This is coming from somewhere else. It could be your blessed higher self. Now let's go back to your grandmother. And I can switch because it's the degree of electrical impulse. I'm convinced of it. I'm convinced that, you know what's funny to me? I don't mean to get off the subject, and I'm really not. But when people talk about aliens and ships and shooting them down, my goodness, how can you shoot light? Is a bullet going to go through light?
That's right. That's right.
It is pretty funny. So you're talking to them, and there is a very distinct energetic switch of electricity that you feel in your body. If you're good, if you have studied, if you have had good training, you will be able to recognize it. Some people don't because they're in such a hurry and they're this and that. But if you really listen to your body tells you everything. It tells you everything, Kevin. That's the most important thing to learn. Remember the rods in the car. It does tell you everything. So all you have to do is ask. And all you have to do is feel and listen. I use all three. I've been given all three gifts. Clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. Clairsentience is when you feel it, when your hair raises on end. And clairaudience is when you hear it. I have all three. And very few people do have all three.
Yeah, that's quite rare as well. And to be able to receive as well.
True. And that takes years. That is not I knew a man named Ron Diana who used to work with Montauk Chia from China, and they would teach Tai Chi. And he said, I envy you so much. And I said, why? He said, because this is so easy for you. And it takes people years and lifetimes. He said somebody could be alive and meditate straight for 25 years and never get a message from spirit. And with you, it's like snapping your fingers. I thought that was cute. I never forgot it.
Yeah, and I suppose it depends what level the soul's come in from, and what it's come in to do as well. How much of a avail.
I was listening to a show the other night on the Oprah channel. I wanted to share this with you. Somebody said, "Do you think that you can change basic character?" And the person said no. And I agree with that. I think the basic imprint of the soul, which is always shown in the astrological chart. The astrological chart is your birth certificate. It is your imprint in life. And it will tell you what you're going to be going through energetically. Not predictions like, oh, that door's going to open tomorrow and you're going to be fine. No, it tells you energetically if you know how to read it. And I think that doesn't change. But what does change, Kevin, listen carefully, is how you react to things. How are you going to react to what's happening? Are you going to do it with loving responses, or are you going to do it with the same hate and fear you were born with? That's how you raise the soul. Then when you drop the body and you go back to your soul school, you get educated. This is called going through life review. You not only go through life review after you die. Let me tell you about the first life review. You go through, first you will see every hurt that happened to you and why you wound up with the responses and belief system you had when you died. Then you're going to see every hurt you gave to everybody else, and you'll see the ripple effect, how it affected everybody, not just the person that you hurt. And then you go back to your pod, you go to your masters, and they will retrain you. They will decide, all of you, there's 9 masters in you, will decide what you overcame, what you were able to work through so you don't have to repeat that again, and then what you might need to repeat again. Let's see if we can get this a little better. Let's see if we can get this a little better. And what is the goal? The goal is to bring you closer to a loving vibration, to bring you up to what is called the second universe, and to bring you closer to God. That's the goal. We're here for 2 things. We're here to love and to serve. And we do forget that. We do forget that in the materialistic world.
Yeah. We can do sometimes. I always try to bring my interviews back to the point that we're here to be of service. So no matter what you're doing, as long as it's of being of service to others, in the sense of whether it's entertainment, whether it's whatever job that it may be that you're
Whatever
doing.
it is, do the best you can, and that's all you can
Yes,
ask.
exactly. And
But we have so many people, Kevin. There's so much going on in this world: hostility, hate, anger, prejudice. I'm right and you're wrong. The third dimensional world goes like this: I'm right and you're wrong, and you're going to tell me that I'm right, and you're going to let me know that you know that I'm right. And once you tell me that I'm right and that you know that I'm right and you were wrong, then I'll know you love me. Then I'll know you love me.
As I've said to you off air before the interview started, I've been channeling, and one thing it's been saying to me is, how much have you loved today?
Yeah, that's right. So I teach morning meditation and nightly review. Maybe this will help you and the audience. In the morning, when you wake up, just throw your arms out to the universe. Let me see if we can throw your arms out to the universe and bring the energy, the Shakti energy, Chi energy, whatever you call it, from the universe in through the crown and down the chakras. And say, thank you, God, for filling me with your energy today of love and service. And may I carry that with me and use it as you will. Then when you do nightly review, you sit down and you think about your day. Did you hurt anybody? Was there an upset? Then you have 24 hours to make amends. 24 hours not to hold it. And the other thing is that if you had a great day, I had a wonderful day. I had a great day. Thank you, Spirit, for giving me this loving day. And if you just do that, 5 minutes on each end, it'll change your life. It will change your life, and it will make you much more loving and much more understanding, and tolerance. We need tolerance.
And that's a bit like doing a sort of small meditation, just doing that as well. That
Yes.
silence. Yeah. Gosh, this is interesting. And just not enough time. We're going to get into your book. We're leading into that. That's what I'm trying to do. So this is where the sort of interview's going. But just going back to channeling as well, I just wanted to say this to people out there who may be channeling. Sorry, I'm using that word. I know you don't like it. Receiving, right? Sorry, receiving. Yeah. Well, let's just. You don't like the word.
Receiving the universe, because there isn't anything in the universe that you don't already know. There anything that's in the universe you can tap into and read, like a book.
Just like what Jane Roberts did with Seth.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you one I had for the first time in my life. Just recently, after I wrote the new Spiritual Chakras and how to work with them, my girlfriend came over and was talking to me at the kitchen table, and my God, I could see, almost like a cartoon, what she was going to say go into her mind and come out her mouth. I could see it, like an airplane flying over the beach saying, buy Goodyear tires or something. And it was just absolutely amazing. I sat there and I said, now, why am I seeing that? That's amazing. I just thought it was so funny. But it just shows you that it's energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And
You have to deal with it.
We
have a long way to go.
Well, one thing you said to me, and I really appreciated your time just before this interview, because I had no plans to speak so long before the interview. I know how tight time is sometimes. And I was late already as well, so apologies for that. But you did say, I was just saying to you about, when I channel, receive, right? There is a circle that opens.
Time to receive a message.
Yeah, there's a circle that opens. There's people in the circle. They're sort of peering out. They're opening and they're letting me in. And then you're telling me that that's what one of your books said about the tunnel of light.
All my books do. I started with Ascension.
Well,
Access,
I've not read your books, so how would I have known that?
Well, Ascension, Access, in the Fifth Dimension, I wrote around 2012 about what was coming. And not only that, I broke down each individual, the third dimension, the fourth dimension, and the fifth dimension, what they are, what they're here for, and what they're going to bring as we pass through them. It's a fabulous book. But the spiritual chakras are not supposed to come until the end, Kevin, because they are the end. They are something that is so great and so powerful. Do you remember the stories when we were little of the Tibetan monks that used to sit on rocks up in Tibet and meditate all day and just eat half a bowl of rice, and they said only keep your stomach 1/3 full? Well, they knew about the spiritual chakras. The spiritual chakras have always been here, but they've never been brought to mankind. And great masters such as Amritananda Mayi, the Hugging Saint, Yogi Bhajan, these have been my teachers, knew about the spiritual chakras and would work with them. Now, since we've had 2012, we've had two things happen. One thing was that we opened up the double helix, which is in the middle of the Milky Way. The second thing is that energy is now coming to Earth, and we now have another level to our aura. We've always had 3 levels to the aura. Now we have a 4th level, and it's called the 5th dimension energy. The color is amber. And that color, that energy can be brought into the body with a straw as the body can open and accept to it. So you're not going to be able to open your 8th chakra if you haven't opened up the other chakras. And it's the 8th is above the head, the 9th, the 8.5 is here behind the baby spot. And that's where the angels are that make sure you don't take in too much energy that will burn up your body. But let me tell you about the 9th chakra. The 9th chakra is at the base of the skull, the occipital bones, between the 2 occipital bones. And what it does once it opens is it brings a laser light through the mind to the 3rd eye, through the pituitary and pineal glands, a straight line to the 3rd eye, and then the force, the power is out here. So if everybody that's watching can just put their palm and do a little vibration, and if you feel some kind of an energy between your palm and your forehead, then maybe you're beginning to open up that sensory part of you. But I do think that it's going to take 30 to 40 years before this all gets trickled in. However, it's here, and we can start to work with it and be aware of it, and that's important.
Okay. Seeing as we just before we get into, I do want to get into your book. I'm desperate to do that. Don't worry. But just before we do that, just going back to the questions of receivers in the industry. Now, you've got to say that a lot of these receivers, as I said to you off air, they feel, if you spoke to them, I would hope they feel that they're generally doing the right thing. They feel.
You have to remember that there is something else present that we have not discussed, and that's the other side, the evil side, the side that wants to bring harm, the dark side. How do you know you're not receiving from one of them? And I can give you a very, very good example that everybody knows. It's the Ashtar command. So how do you know? If you're not living the life, how can you expect to receive a higher energy? Now, that doesn't mean we don't make wrong things. It doesn't. I'm talking about your heart and your belief system and how you treat others and how you have advanced as a soul. Some people get into this, and I can give you a couple of examples. Really don't want to, but I can. Just for the money, just because they know that it's the big thing and they can do something. And they do that. And they are not really caring about how they affect others. They're only caring about what they can bring into their piggy bank.
And you feel that these people don't generally feel that they're doing the right thing or the truthful thing?
They can feel that they're doing the right thing, but the ego is tricky. You've got to be careful. The ego is tricky. You know, if you buy my book, Psychic Attacker, Are You a Victim? That was the first book I ever wrote. And that came from the divine. All my books came from the divine. But it really spells out what to watch for. A, B, C, D. In false psychics, in false people. And then there's the other thing. There's the different levels. If you're in 3rd dimensional reality, you might be drawn to listen to somebody who's 3rd dimensional. If you're in 4th dimensional reality, you're going to be empowered by somebody who's in the 4th dimension. If you're in 5th dimensional reality, then you'll learn. So it depends on where you are as well. You're not going to attract a lower vibration and feel that it's right for you unless you're in that vibration yourself. That's an ascension.
Are you saying there's some of the receivers may be in these different vibrations that are? Do you know? I asked my channel. I said, why are there all these channelers out there? Well, I did use that word, so I'm going to have to use that word, right?
The universe understands at this point.
Yeah. And I said, and they've all got different messages, and and the response that came back was really simple but interesting. It said, well, how do you reach different people on different levels? You have to go with where they're at, and those people will go with the right level that they feel attracted to. But at some point,
That's BS. Stop right there. That's BS. A person will never go to a lower level. They will always want to bring the person up. I'll
No,
give you an example.
no. I'm not saying that. No, what I'm saying, I don't know if I made it. I might have made it clear that you might be saying what you're saying. But what I'm saying is what it said to me, as far as I can remember, was.
I know what you said. You said that a person that's doing the reading, that's giving the information, has to bring themselves down to another level and talk to the person where they are.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is what the message said to me was that different people at different spiritual levels, will be attracted to people who are giving messages at the level that they're at.
That's what I just said.
Sorry?
That's what I just said before. Yes, you're attracted to the level. For example, look at the thousands and thousands of people that were attracted to Lazarus. Back. We're saying the same thing. But you have to be careful, because a person of a lower level cannot give a person of a higher level a message that will be truth.
No, that's right. So, but what it did. So we're saying the same thing. We're actually saying the same thing. What it said as well.
I gave out that warning.
Oh no, yeah. But what it said as well is that in that negative message, it did say that in that negative will be some spark of divine or divinity or something spiritually higher. Not necessarily. Well, hang on. That will spark it off. To look at something else. Well, that's what it said. See, that's the thing, right? I've got to say, you're saying not necessarily you're going to say something opposing to me, which is fine, right? I'll accept that. But it goes back to maybe what we're going to say to you, but I forgot to say to you, which is, even though these people that are receivers are giving out messages that they believe is right, they're just getting on with what they feel is the right thing. Now, if I went out there in the marketplace and did that, you could say what I'm saying is wrong, but I'm going out there with the intention of actually just trying to do the right thing.
Well, it's not necessarily that people are wrong. It's that they could say it differently and bring it up a level or two. We're talking about two different things here, Kevin. We're talking about darkness and light. Let's go down to the darkness level of the third dimension. And that might be where you decide to go out and rob a bank, or where you decide to go out and hijack young girls and hold them for prostitution, and you think you're doing something right. Or you can go out and you can decide that you're going to work to free these people that are entrapped. Now you're with light. It comes from needing control. It comes from deciding that you are big and important enough to have control over others. I'm going to make you do what I want you to do. And it comes from money, and it comes from, materialistic with no light, with no God. That's where it comes from.
But what if someone that's murdered someone has chosen to be the murderer, and the victim's chosen to be the victim, for them to have that experience, and for them to have that experience on behalf.
It doesn't bring light. Do not do that. Stop. Because you're excusing, by doing that, you're excusing something that cannot continue to exist. You're excusing darkness, and you're excusing hate, and you're excusing harm to others by saying, oh, well, he chose it. Oh, well, it was his destiny. That is so beyond anybody's knowledge on this planet. It is beyond their knowledge.
What's beyond their knowledge? What's beyond their knowledge?
That a person chose to have that happen. That a baby chose to be shot by a window at 3 years old.
When you say it's beyond our knowledge, do you mean what you're saying is we're not going to know until we've crossed home? Is that what you mean?
Well, you may not even know then. You're not going to know until you advance up to the higher levels.
So what I'm saying then could be true, or are you saying the opposite?
What you're saying has become, in the new age, an excuse for not being involved, an excuse for not taking responsibility, an excuse for saying, tough, it happened to them. And it
okay, but I always try to finish off, I know you've not let me finish off there, but that's fine, because you've got to say what you think's right, but I always try to finish off with, but we have free will, whether to do that or not.
You are going beyond the ability for anybody listening to really understand, Kevin. So let's not do that.
So then why? So then you're going to put it down to evil.
I'm going to put it down to darkness.
So
I'm going to put it down to no light. I'm going to put it down to a place where there is no awareness or respect for life.
But where is that darkness coming forth to influence people to be that way? Are you saying that there's attachments? People are attached to the darkness, or okay? Why does then, in your opinion, why does someone murder or rape?
Let me say it a little differently. Let's go to the astrological chart. This will get us out of it. The astrological chart, where you're born with certain challenges. It is believed that you experience a lot of what you gave out in a past life. So there is a belief, and this came from Edgar Cayce, among other people, that if you are shot, you were murdered in your past life. You were the murderer in your past life. So you had to experience that. But that happens through the way you live your life and the choices that you make. Choice is our power, not destiny. We have the energetic setup for what we have to go through. And just because you were a murderer in another life does not mean you have to murder in this lifetime. If that happened, we'd all be dead. So you need to understand that in a way, I feel as a teacher that you're going beyond the understanding of a lot of people that are listening. The thing is to look at your choices, to look at your responses, to develop them to be a little bit more refined so that you don't have to hurt others, and to give yourself joy, laughter, and love in the meantime.
But if we didn't have what you call the darkness, how would we have experience? For example, if a soul's all-knowing, if it is, we come on this planet to incarnate, we've come from the place we're going back to, right, for example. How do we know hot if we don't know cold? If there's going to be no opposites here, what's the point in coming down here?
That's why we're in a duality universe. Read Ascension, Accessing the Fifth Dimension. It's all explained. We're in a duality universe, and yes, we have opposites, we have polarities. And what we're trying to do on this planet in the next 3 and 4 and 500 years, or 1,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, is refine it so that we don't have to be in a place of duality, but in a place of spontaneity and love. And that's what we're learning. We're working ourselves away from that darkness.
And that's got to be a beautiful place to be heading towards. It really is. And as you may agree, that we're hopefully heading towards that. I'd like to think we are.
That's what the new spiritual chakras are about.
See, this thing with dark. Well, okay, why do people murder then? Why do people rape?
For their own physical gratification.
Because
they do not know any better at that point.
And
they are absolutely responding to something that they want and need. It's like a little baby. Why does a little baby throw something off the? So
what makes me what makes me different though to someone that's about to slit someone's throat, and I wouldn't want to inflict that harm. I wouldn't want to do that. It's just not in my makeup to want to cause that, to just be anywhere near that situation or experience it. What's the difference between me and that person? Is it because I'm an older soul, or what makes us so consciously different?
It's choices, Kevin. I'm trying to teach you about choices, and you keep bringing it back down again. I wish you wouldn't do that. It's choices.
So why is that other person making such a bad choice? Are we saying it?
That's what he's feeling at the time, and he has not learned discipline. He has not learned the laws of the universe. He is only reacting. You could say in an animalistic sense. He's only reacting with his emotions. He's not reacting with thought, logic, caring, or love. He's reacting instinctively with his emotions. And that's about the best that we can describe it in our field, because we're not professionals.
Yeah. I mean, in this.
I'd rather get back to how to advance, if you don't mind. How to advance, how to grow, how to come in with a certain character and advance to the point of where you can change characters. It is one of the most difficult challenges of the mere 80 or 90 years that we have in a lifetime.
Then how do you answer your accident then? See, you had your car accident, which was it seems to me to have been just at the right time for you to have your near-death experience.
It was. Astrologically, it was funny because I did my chart that night. I felt like I had been reborn. And my rising was 3 degrees Leo. And it conjuncted my Pluto at 3 degrees Leo. I thought that was fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
Absolutely. But then my point is, if you can't, I look at things now with I hope with a deeper perspective, like I have been over these many years, as I've remembered who I am, and hopefully, you know, to look at things differently with a spiritual perspective, that things happen for a reason. So that car accident happened for a reason. There was no choice.
But sometimes you're not supposed to know the reason. Sometimes it is just to do something. For example, I fell down the stairs this year. I fell down the stairs. I rolled down the stairs. That was very scary, and I hit my head. And for an older person to have a fall, it's very scary. I didn't understand why that happened to me, not for days. I went through a lot of pain. Luckily, I didn't break anything.
Yeah, sure.
But about 2 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, I had the realization that the pain in my hips was gone. Gone, knocked out of my body. It happened from the fall. So in gratitude, I thanked Spirit. But I said, did you really have to do that fall to get the pain out of the hips? So, you know, they say there's always a brightness after the storm, and there probably is, but sometimes you have to give it time. And sometimes asking why just isn't going to give you the answer. You need time.
Of course. I mean, I would completely agree with that.
And there is nothing happens by accident. That is true. But you can make different choices and you can avoid a turmoil. For example, if I was reading you and I said, you know, tomorrow's going to be a negative day for you. Be careful where you go and don't go into darkly or dimly lit streets. Then I would hope you would listen. If you chose to override that, something might happen. So it's choices. You need to understand its choices. Okay. And I know I've said that a lot today.
Well, no, you know why I've banged on about this, and I've got quite argumentative and everything else, because this is what is pumped through me daily through many different people about this is the way they feel it is. You're opposing, and I enjoy that.
I say listen to different people and see if you can get another perspective.
I like your perspective because it's different.
Listen to different people and see if what you're saying is true. If you listen to Tom, Dick, and Harry, and they're all telling you the same thing and they're bringing you down, why would you want to continue to listen? Why don't you try to find somebody coming from another perspective?
And it's very interesting to hear that other perspective. It really is.
People won't, because they look at it as the Elvis Presley adoration, which I have never, ever, ever allowed to happen to me, Kevin. I have never allowed people to bow down. I have never allowed people to worship me. No, you did this. Your inner did this. Now, I had a lady who came to me with lockjaw. This is really important. She came to me with lockjaw, and she had had a car accident, and her clavicle had been moved, and she could not open her mouth and eat food. And before she left, I said, sometimes when I put my hands on people, things happen. May I touch you? And I did. And I had this huge energy come into my body. And I just swayed with it for 2 or 3 minutes. And I brought in angels, and I cleaned out her jaw, and I tried to get everything out. And then I plated it and covered it over as you're supposed to, all the healing techniques. And I dropped my hands, and she dropped her jaw.
Right.
First instinct was to get down and kiss my feet. I wouldn't let her do it. I said, stop! You can't do that. Go into the other room where I had an altar and candles burning. Look in the mirror and thank your blessed higher self for having the ability to let go of the fear that held that jaw locked.
Right.
She went home and ate an apple.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's adoration
Yeah.
and attachment. You get attached to the negative and you stay with the negative. Decide to unhook it. This is choice. And listen to something different and see what happens. Sometimes it can just be music.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, or being with your kids, whatever it may be. Yeah. Just something that relaxes you. Yeah. Maybe the kids isn't the greatest example, but yeah. Well, let's lead on then to your book. That's the new Spiritual Chakras. Why now? Why this book now?
Well, I really don't know, except I think that to explain what happened on 2012, I think is the reason. I mean, we didn't blow up, we didn't lose the universe, but we do have a new way of living coming in.
Oh, yeah.
And it's self-development, and it's bringing the human up to a place where they can survive without self-destructing. And it is the new spiritual chakras and how to work with them, because they are going to bring you to different places of awareness as they open. On the back of the book, I want to show this, the chart. And this chart is in color, showing the colors of all the chakras. It tells you what they do, what gifts they bring, and what color they are, and where they take you to. It's just incredible, incredible work. It took an awful lot to write this book. It took me 18 months to write the book, and I write books faster than that. And I'm going to tell you, I lost everything. My whole world crashed. And boy, was I tested while I wrote that book and the garden book, Seeding and Nurturing the Garden of Your Soul. Both of them are very high-level books. They both are. And they will help you answer some of the questions that you've asked today. They'll help you answer them.
Yeah. So basically, when you when you wrote these books, you went through your own process.
Oh, my goodness, you wouldn't believe it. I had 5 people die in 6 months, including my identical twin.
Oh my gosh.
And then her husband dropped dead 3 days after she died. Then my daughter passed. Then my best friend passed. And then my son passed. I mean, it was just incredible.
Oh,
Plus other things.
Oh, you've had all these people.
Turmoil.
Oh, you've had all those people. Bloody hell.
2012 and 2013, it was very difficult.
Oh God, so sorry about that. Yeah, that's very testing. That is, especially yeah. Wow. Okay, so basically, you've had to live what you've put down on paper.
That's right. I lived through it all. Many, many, many lifetimes. I think that life is great, and I think that each phase of life, and I'm going to say it's usually 5 years or 7 years because of astrology, the laws of astrology, you go through a different phase. And Deepak Chopra also teaches this with your body. You change your bloodstream, you change your skin and your hair and your organs. They all change with the particles as you advance in life. And I do think that each part of life is its own content.
Yeah.
You know, you're born, you go to school, you graduate, you work, you get married, you have your children, you have your grandchildren, you pass. Basically. But there's so much more, as we know.
Of course, absolutely. With the chakras then, obviously there's been many books, written on this subject.
Yes.
What makes yours different?
Well, I go into the spiritual chakras and what they are. It's very detailed, and it tells how to know when you are healing them. It talks about the filaments. It talks about replacing filaments. It talks about knowing whether yours is open or not. And it comes from the point of a healer. It comes from the point of, if you're going to be healing, it's beyond the reconnection. The reconnection ended at the end of the 4th dimension. That was Eric Pearl's work. Very good work. And that takes you to the top of the 4th dimension, the Seals of Solomon. This is beyond that. This is 5th dimension. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the heart center and the solar plexus have changed color, because the heart center is now golden yellow and the solar plexus is green.
Right.
So it's all new information.
Yes. Yeah.
That's available to us through choice. If we want to work with this and grow higher, we can. And it will alter your consciousness. It will help you develop your character in a stronger sense. And it will bring in tools to help you grow. Clairvoyance, healing, awareness, different ways of responding, different ways of reacting, and bringing in more love.
And by embracing these things, this could really change a person's life, couldn't it? In a sense.
Absolutely. Certainly changed mine.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I know. I can tell. Yeah. I can hear just in what the words you've said. It's incredible what you've been through. And again, like you said as well, this will help people to receive and to bring in that side of themselves as well, if they wish to go down that path.
It's going to help them trust their gut reaction. It's going to help them converse with the universe, and it's going to help them with self-direction. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you've been receiving, using your techniques, should you shut down your chakras, or should you keep them open?
No, but what you do is shut down your ego. And this is how you do it. I have created a wonderful, wonderful MP3 file that you can get on my website called Spiritual Healing and Meditation. I made that in 1993 before I wrote any of these books, because it was something that I knew instinctively at that point with Louise Hay. But you have yourself, you picture yourself, your physical body, and you throw it over to the side. You just throw it over to the side and you let the light come through. Now you've put yourself to rest and you can let this light come through. But you do take responsibility. You will remember everything you said afterwards. That's important. And then you guide others as they ask you.
Okay.
And sometimes you just heal. I mean, many, many, many times I will be thinking of somebody and I'll send them light. I remember there's one of the favorite quotes of the Bible that has really helped me, based on my background, is, as he carried the cross, the woman came and touched his robe, and he could feel the energy leave him. My goodness, if that's not healing, if that doesn't describe it. And it's a wonderful example of saying exactly what does happen. It transfers. We transfer energy, and we know we can transfer energy. Like I said, Kevin, we don't know an awful lot about it. There's so much more to learn, but at least it's a beginning.
Yeah, you think how much unknown, how much knowledge is there to be tapped in that we do not know yet. You just can you imagine it? Yeah.
We are infinitesimal compared to the universe.
I always get taught a lot when doing my receiving is that, even at the level that they're at, that I'm communicating with, and it may be potentially the same level that I'll go back to, even at that level, they're still trying to work it out. Even at that level, they're still receiving from other levels above them.
Well, not necessarily. It doesn't mean that they can't. What you're hoping to do, and I think what you're really saying, is that through your reading of them, you're opening up a pathway, a light, where they can receive higher knowledge later when they're not with you. And that is true, if they choose to listen. But sometimes, remember when I said this higher self will come in and it'll get really rough and it'll start yelling at people? And that's because they have not been receiving. They may not know that they can. So if through your readings you can give to the other person the knowledge that this is only me, I'm only an insignificant part, but there's so much more that you can open to, why don't you begin to do that? Then you're giving them something. The first person I ask people when they talk to me is, what is your spiritual practice? And I usually get a blank stare. Oh, I pray sometimes. What? What? That's what they say to me. What? What is your spiritual practice? Because if you don't have one, you certainly need to develop one. And it doesn't matter what it is or who you pray to. Krishna, Buddha, Queen Young, the Lord, Mohammed, it doesn't matter who it is. It matters that you decide to try to access the higher energy that will benefit you.
I don't think I've got a spiritual practice as such. I mean, unless I do that when I'm receiving, potentially, it could be that. But I don't go out and do any praying, not even to myself. I barely get enough time to do meditation. But then again, when I'm receiving,
meditation is a spiritual practice.
Sorry?
Meditation is a spiritual practice.
I'm just saying in general in my life, I don't do enough of it. Probably don't do enough.
If you did, your power would grow greater, and you would become more sensitive, and that's fine. But like I said, most people are happy where they are. They don't care if they have a change or necessarily want one.
Yes.
If you want to grow, and if you want to begin to develop your response systems, then you do need a spiritual practice.
Right. Okay. Well, that's absolutely. I'm been told that so many times, not directly, but I've heard it. Shall I say so many times? I think it's very true what you're saying.
Because you plug in, and therefore you're using your energy.
Yeah.
Plugging in. Yeah.
What would you say then, if you could, is one of the most important messages of this book?
That we have more. We have more. We are so limited. We have more. Open to it. Look at what God has given us now. Look at the medicine. Look at the colleges. Look at the education. Look at the ability. We don't have to be in fear anymore. We can develop ourselves to be leaders. We can develop ourselves to help other people come up too. We can prove that we're all one, and we can bring them into a oneness circle that's a lot higher than what we're experiencing now. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.